Hello, welcome to MJRRPG, a podcast for tabletop role-playing game reviews, replays, etc. and so forth, but really just Call of Cthulhu reviews. And the following is a review of a Call of Cthulhu scenario. First Night, written by Guillotte and Ian Christiansen, the sixth scenario in the Grindhouse Collection. As always, the first part of the scenario is spoiler light for players and keepers, while the second portion is spoiler full for keepers, and I'll warn the players off when that starts. In short, First Night is a freeform scenario with a setting and situation like a mashup of Black Christmas, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Evil Dead, and has tools to allow keepers to be as subtle or as bombastic as they desire. First Night is the sixth Grindhouse scenario, as well as a quasi-sequel to another scenario in the collection, though it's entirely standalone and I hadn't run the precursor scenario before First Night. Like most of the Grindhouse series, First Night is heavy on the blunt and violent horror and light on any sort of subtle clue hunting, though it does have a longer build-up than many of its sibling scenarios. It's heavy on keeper improvisation or pre-planning, but with plenty of setting descriptions and tools to help the keeper along. The scenario covers 22 VHS-sized 6x9-inch pages, with 11 pages of scenario text and stats, 2 pages of insert art, 3 pages of maps, and 6 investigator sheets. Guillotte's layout and design is always top-notch. There isn't much art to break up the text, but the stock art that is used meshes well, and the text is formatted with enough breaks and boxes to keep it easy on the eye. Grindhouse scenarios, and many of Alex's other works, are organized a bit differently from many other Call of Cthulhu scenarios. Instead of a relatively linear telling of the story or segmented descriptions of locations, the scenarios have 7 sections that break up the various cast, clues, events, and locations, etc. I really like this style in small scenarios, and it works very well in First Night, though I find it may be pushing the boundaries of how long of a scenario it works with. The setup and setting are instantly recognizable here. A big 1980s sorority house on Moving in Night. All the stereotype characters are present in a few NPCs or the 6 pre-made investigators, all of whom are good fun with role-playing hooks to get a player in character quickly. I do think the investigators could have used 1 extra detail each, but more on that in the spoilers. I can't get much more into the setting without spoilers actually, but it's a fun one. If you need to get in the mood, just watch Black Christmas. The actual scenario content isn't at all the same, but it'll set the atmosphere. Overall, First Night is a great 3 or 4 hour romp, though a group could easily extend that if they want. The atmosphere is top-notch, keepers have plenty of tools and prompts to twist the scenario to fit their sadistic needs, and players can act out their favorite 1980s slasher girls. Well worth playing. You can find First Night in the Grindhouse Ultimate Collection on DriveThruRPG, and it's also available in Grindhouse Volume 3 if you already brought any of the individual volumes and don't want to double up with the Ultimate Collection. Here on out is full of spoilers, so if you're a player or you're just wanting not to be spoiled, I would suggest stopping here. Alright. First Night is a single location, sort of, and survival scenario. There are 2 ways to, quote-unquote, win, either by surviving long enough or discovering a secret ritual. Combat at some point is very likely, and depending on your players and your GMing style, this could be an all-out brawl from the middle section onwards. The prelude is fairly short, getting players straight into the spookiness. A sorority has a moving-in party at a big old house, and during the festivities finds a copyright-friendly witch board, and have a go for a lark. Unfortunately, using it communicates with a murderous wizard trapped in a pocket of the Dreamlands, and once the girls fall asleep, they are pulled into his nightmare world. They have to survive for 3 hours, or find a hidden book and use a spell within it to wake up safely. All the while, they have to fend off fetches, twisted humans sort of like Evil Dead's Deadites, and deal with the dream logic of the nightmare. Players could also leave the house, but will most likely get hunted down by fetches or simply get lost in an endless fog. Keepers are given plenty of leeway with how to run the scenario. They could be coy with the reveal that the investigators are in a nightmare, very slowly adding hints things are off and having the fetches stalk, taunt, then finally do hit and run attacks. Or if time is tight or the players are just looking for a fight, the keeper could launch all the fetches at the party early on and keep the pressure continuous until they find the Mythos tome containing a wake-up spell or die. There are some suggestions for how to make the world dreamlike, mostly in reference to the outside of the house. One addition that I think would be fun is to emphasize the nightmare in, well, a sort of Nightmare on Elm Street sort of way, by having the investigator's personal fears manifest, either through the fetches or entirely separately. A keeper could give each pregen a random or selected phobia, or they could ask the players to decide one beforehand, or if everyone is comfortable and willing, use their own real-world fears. That could lead to the classic scenes of a claustrophobic character, hey that's me, finding themselves in a hallway that seems to be imperceptibly narrowing to the point they're scrambling on their hands and knees. Or a sphexophobic character, that's also me, opening a door or drawer to reveal a massive hive of bloated and angry wasps. It's the Dreamlands, have fun with it. The most interesting climax for the scenario, in my opinion, is finding a secret mythos tome and casting a wake spell within it. To make this work requires bending the rules a touch so the investigators don't need to spend weeks or months reading the book or learning the spell, but instead can immediately attempt the spell. I do think keepers should follow the regular rules for an initial casting of the spell though. It's in Keeper Rulebook page 177 or the summary page on 419. But they could potentially make the hard power roll for successfully casting a spell the first time into an extreme power roll to account for the investigators not really knowing what the hell they're doing. This would encourage luck spending or pushed rolls, giving the keeper more ammunition to make things interesting as the investigators try to cast the spell on everyone, while fetches or other nastiness rains down on them. It also means that a POW-strong investigator may be more pressured to cast the spell on their friends, rather than each investigator trying one by one themselves, leaving that POW-heavy caster stuck with the choice of wasting all their MP on their friends or saving some for themselves. Overall, First Night is another fine addition to the Grindhouse Collection, and tons of fun to act out everyone's favorite, or despised, 80s slasher trash, along with enough delightful tools for the keeper to turn things on their heads. You can find First Night in the Grindhouse Ultimate Collection or Grindhouse Volume 3 on DriveThruRPG. Thank you for listening. As always, thank you to Cryochamber for use of their album Cthulhu. Until next time, have a good one.